Hey Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
Dylan, do you remember back a couple weeks ago, we were demoing the Sunburn gaming engine.
You make it sound professional when it was really,
We were
hey, let's
quite
go in
inept.
here and new project.
Prepared and inept.
Oh, look, this demo is code-based, not...
It was a learning experience for all involved. Not that we hadn't fired up and played with it before, but that we hadn't played with it as much in recent time to even remember whether you could or could not do things.
We're terrible spokespeople, is what you're saying.
We were.
Yes,
We were
okay,
in that moment.
okay. So we're all on the same page here. We don't know what we're talking about.
This is what we're supposed to be doing.
Right.
That was not. That was a game designer meetup group. Legit game developers were there with legit game development questions. We were not prepared for.
It's the equivalent of not intended as a factual statement.
Correct. We didn't intend that to be correct, or we didn't know if it was. Anyway, so we fired it up. We managed to hey, let's get it fired up. We had it on one of our laptops installed, and we got it fired up, and we checked it out. And the reason I bring that up is you could use it as your level editor, right?
Yes.
That kind of was the question, the debate, the topic. And I thought, I don't think you would. I don't really think you would, right? Like, in my world, I imagine you would use 3D Studio Max or something to lay out your level and place your objects or something, and that would be easier. I don't know. I've not done any fucking 3D games.
It depends on how you build your objects, I guess, because if you look at the dojo sample, they've got a scene, and the scene loads one FBX, and that FBX has multiple objects in it, so
Yeah.
maybe you would do it in...
Yeah, you just make more objects, make clones of them in the
But
FBX.
you'd probably do it in the scene itself.
I've only written a book on 3D programming. I haven't done it.
Well, you're talking about the lower level stuff, the stuff that actually Sunburn handles for you.
Correct.
So
So you don't need to read my book at all.
exactly.
Period. There's no caveat of Sunburn or not. You don't need to read my book at all. But
There's no such thing as a leaky abstraction. Why would you ever need to know?
fucking just wrap it in a class, man. And there you go. Then you got it. It's all bundled up and nullable, and it's great. It's wonderful.
Sure.
That's the answer. So the Sunburn engines, we fired it up because this whole could it be used as a level editor question, and which just kind of caught me off guard because I thought why would you want to use it to tweak your lighting values and things like this, but the broad leveling, all that, and object placement, do that. No, I was wrong. We fired it up and bam, we cloned an object in the dojo example. We banged a gong and we made another gong. And then we banged that gong, and we made another gong from that gong. Did we have tri-gong going on?
I don't know.
We may have only had a dual gong. We could have had trigon, though. Trigon technology exists in Sunburn today. Now, I should caveat that this is with the Sunburn gaming engine. Not the framework. The difference between the two is the in-game editor. And that's essentially what we hit the magic F11, F12.
We will never remember this.
You hit the damn key.
I don't remember. I just
What key did you hit? You hit them all.
No. I I don't remember. It's muscle memory, man. It's muscle memory. I see either F11 or F12. I hit the button, and from that point on, muscle memory.
So we hit those buttons. We hit one of those buttons, the upper end of the F registry on the keyboard. If you have an older keyboard, they may actually be located to your left down the side and not along the top row. That used to be a thing.
PS2? I know that used to be a thing, but
Well, I think the PS2 is along the top, but there were keyboards that had them beside. But then you didn't have up to F12, so you'd be fucked anyway.
Yeah.
You only had through F8.
And you probably have the old AT style adapter or whatever it's called.
And you got a trackball too.
Kids these days wouldn't even recognize.
Right.
So
what we found out is after we hit that key, you could totally go in and clone and place objects, and the guys, the real fucking game developers there, they were like, holy shit, that we could totally use that lever, and this would be awesome and so much greater because you're fucking an ignorant little twat. We have access to 3D game programmers, and we would never use 3D Studio Max to do our level design. That's insane. You should just go outside and kill yourself.
Well, now here's the thing. I suppose you could...
I think that was said to me.
I suppose you could adapt your process to whatever works for the game you're developing, because, the Sunburn game engine is not, does not force a particular workflow on you.
And it does not. And I think the real advantage and the power of the point was maybe you do some broad layout in 3D Studio Max, but fine placement of all your objects in 3D space and getting all that to that is a lot of gameplay testing. And to be able to just in the middle of gameplay go, I don't like that, boom, boom, done.
Yeah.
Is, you know, you don't have to make a ticket, you don't have to remember when you log out, you don't have to have 2 instances open on your computer, which that sounds just like running a 3D game at the same time you're running 3D Studio Max. Sounds like you're asking for punishment, you know, that just sounds like...
Save it, test it, save it back to the scene file.
Yeah, but it's not going to load dynamically or anything. You get the whole content pipeline piece. So, yeah. So that's basically awesome Sunburn gaming engine. Use it as, you know, level editing, level placement, place the baddies, place the 3D objects, along with your lighting. And that's kind of the thing that, you know, I thought that you'd use it for. You tweak up all your lighting, make sure all your lighting effects look nice, you know, make it highly polished. Things like that. Go check out Orbitron Revolution. It's a great looking game, very Defender-like gameplay style, but done in 3D and just fucking gorgeous. And to know that that came out of an indie studio, like, you know, that's not AAA studio with $1 million of budget. That's an indie studio that was able to crank that out, you know, on top of the Sunburn gaming engine. So go give it a look. Go check it out. You can find out more on the Sunburn gaming engine, the Sunburn framework, which is the framework is free, at synapsegaming.com. All right, everyone, welcome to the show. We are back. We were off a week. We are good now. Dylan, you went down to Dragon Con.
Yep.
Cicely and I went down to Chattanooga for DevLink. So at Dragon Con, we were talking about this before the podcast, and I said I want to ask you on the podcast. Did you go to the City of Heroes MMO panel?
No. Why? What happened?
Well, because that game got shut down, and it got shut down like right before Dragon Con. So we were coming in to do a panel now, and we still have the time slot because, you know, we have all that. But you want to talk about how good City Heroes was? Because it's gone now.
You know, I did not go to a lot of gaming panels. And mainly, I think mainly the reason why was because I have been to a few in the past, and I'm like, I know what questions are going to get asked on how do I get into the gaming industry or whatever. The only panel I did go to was I went to a game writing panel, which was interesting because I believe they had a guy from BioWare, a guy from Obsidian, worked on Fallout New Vegas.
Now these were game writers, or like when you say like game writing, like design doc or something like.
They were like game writing. I believe. I came in a little bit late, so I didn't hear the introductions.
But I mean, this is like story components and narrative.
And they also had someone from Pathfinder, which is a pen and paper, and there was kind of back and forth there. It was kind of interesting because they did get into some of the differences between, and now I wish I'd taken notes.
Wait, hold on a second. We have a question if we're going to talk about the Windows 8 phones, and I think we should dedicate a market share relative amount of the podcast to the Windows 8 phone discussion. All right, we're good. Go back on.
Hashtag troll.
We're good. We're gone. Now we're over.
Okay. So anyway, they were talking about, it was very interesting because there's very much a give and take with the writers and the developers and the designers where, you know, they talked about how a writer might come up with something cool they wanted in the quest, but it didn't fit into either the game design or it wasn't something that the developers could do in the, you know, existing engine.
Right.
And so for like there's this give and take between those three elements. It was kind of interesting, especially given that as a developer in a web shop, a lot of times you're the odd man out when decisions are made, and like the writers seem to be that in game development. because they were talking about how a lot of studios don't have writers on staff.
Right. Like a lot of it is brought in very late in the process.
Yeah, and it's
so
outsourced.
You can't really, and you know, Extra Credits complains about this a lot too, because you can't create an immersive telling story perspective when you bring in your writers toward the end of the project. You
can't go, hey, we've got this game, we need a story for it.
Right.
They also got into some of the like quest design and stuff like that, which was really interesting because one of the things they said was a lot of times when they get submissions for stuff like that, and they discuss that they do testing different ways. But when people are submitting, to try to get a job or whatever, one of the big things they're looking for is if they say 300 words, they mean 300 words. Like, they don't care how great and immersive you can make the story. It has to fit into their gameplay needs.
Correct, yeah.
So
at DevLink, right, like I gave a couple game programming talks.
Yeah.
I gave the Inca Blocks postmortem, which is really, I just, kind of cracked up the source code, talked to a couple pieces. That was like at Friday at 8 a.m., which was the last day of the conference at 8 a.m., so I had like 4 or 5 people there. But I did get to go to Chris Gardner's 3D X&A talk, and this is 3D glasses television 3D, not 3D. He actually talked doing the 3D effect in 3D and in 2D. So like this is like 3DS, so he had like a $300 3D television, 3D TV that he picked up for $300. I mean, it was 20-something inch, maybe 29 inch. It was not crazy huge, but large monitor size.
Do you need glasses for a 3D TV?
Yeah, so this was a meeting of glasses. And I didn't really know a lot about how the tech would work, like how is it actually, like I know it gets like a 3D signal and then it's like, I'm in 3D mode and then it does something. But essentially the television that he had, it had multiple modes actually. So it had 3D by splitting the screen in 2 pieces, so dividing it horizontally, dividing it vertically was a mode. So basically you sent an image for the left eye and an image for the right eye. You actually still send one image, right? So you're not sending 2 images to the television. There's not a second graphics device or anything involved.
You have to do that blending yourself, is what you're saying.
No, you have to do the splitting yourself.
Or splitting.
So you have to take your screen and render 2 copies of the screen, one on the right side, one on the left side, and they have to be slightly off for the effect to be created, because the more they're off, the deeper the effect, right?
Right.
And then the glasses is what's allowing one eye to see one side and the other eye to see the other side, so that it comes in. Chris is fucking math geek nerd, so like he got really into the math and the positioning, because like one part of the puzzle, you got to know like where the viewer's at and how far are they away from the television. Like this all like comes into play, like how much you play on the effect and everything, and also like the distance between your eyes. And if you like actually could know everything, he said you could make a really great effect. But not having all the pieces, because it varies from person to person. This is where Kinect would kick ass.
Yeah.
Like if you had Kinect,
you would say, oh, they're this far away from the screen.
Oh, they're this far away, and this is their eyes. There's Kinect face tracking now, available and stuff like that. You could actually get the eyes tracked on Kinect, and then that would allow you to really make an awesome 3D interactive experience that it could stay 3D even while you moved around. So like, where 3DS, like you have to be right on that. Like if you move slightly out, then it either looks wrong or it just looks dumb, depending on how far you're out. It's either headache inducing or just doesn't look right. And so that was that part. That was unfortunate. We can't access the Kinect. He went through it, and I took quite a bit of notes on that. And there's a matrix create perspective off center that helps. So really, it's doing exactly what you need to do, because you need to you have a view camera, right? And so that's from where the player is looking at the world, and then you needed to create 2 cameras shifted, one to the left, one to the right, but
angled in.
No,
and not angled.
Don't angle it, right? You need a flat projection in, so that's why it's off center. So it just this is where it's going, but like move over here. We don't want to look at the same point. we want to shift everything over and into this off-center. I don't know. He did it better explaining. But, so yeah, unfortunately this method was poorly documented, so he really had to dive into how to, the parameters that it took and how to get out of that. He, basically, in 3D and 3D is really easy, because you can just have two viewports, and you can set the camera, you're done. Your objects and all that, they're already being rendered in 3D, so you're really just controlling the amount of effect that you get when you adjust it. 2D, however, a lot more involved, okay? Because it's all flat. So if you off-shift them, you can't just off-shift the whole screen. You have to off-shift some tiles more than other tiles to create the effect, right? But you have no Z data. So you have to fake the Z data for the offset. Essentially, he created and released an open source, I think it's open source, but he created a library for doing that. So it got into crazy math, and he explained all the crazy math. Now, he was given this session toward the end of Friday or second half of Friday. It was pretty late in the damn conference. So, as he's going off on this deep math, I'm, checking Twitter. I'm like, I'll wait till he gets to the punchline. And he did that. I'll try to remember to have a note, have a link in show notes to his blog or something. So if you're interested in that, if you have a 3D television set, you can do everything. Because the thing for me to learn was, let me make a note, link to Chris, that if there's no special graphics driver adapters or anything on your end, you're going to send one image and you're going to manually split it into two. And that's how a lot of this is going to work. Now, I don't know how, I think all the TVs do that, and the varying is the methods in which the TV reconstitutes the image. Oh, there was a third method he had on his television, which was interlaced. So it was every other line was intended for every other eye. And that, of course, would probably be the best, because you'll have perspective issues. Because what will happen is, it's going to take those two images and stretch them back across the entire screen.
Right.
Interlaced. And one's going to be red and one's going to be blue, so they come in the red light and they come in the blue eye. But you're going to stretch that back out. So when you have to do your viewports and everything, you have to squish your items, right? They can't be to proper areas. So you have to account for the stretching that's going to happen when they get doubled back out. But if you could do interlaced, then you wouldn't have to do the stretching and the reconstituting, the unstretching. So that was interesting. Went to that. Other things I've been doing, Xtiled. You can go download. I should probably put a link to Xtiled in show notes now. So Xtiled is our Funkworks rewrite library for importing TMX maps. I've talked about on the podcast before that we wanted to do more, extend, and change the way we were using Nick Gravelin's tiled lib, which has worked great for us, but there were not all features of tiled were supported in there. There were things we could set properties on in the editor but not read at runtime. I kind of wanted to change up how the maps were laid out so that we didn't do this this matrix translation to sprite batch, which made it a pain to overlay our static assets. I just wanted to deal in screen space and world space separately. So personal preference there. So I got all that up. You can go download that now, and it is actually for orthogonal maps. Complete at this point. Even the rewrite for performance rendering is done. So I did a very brute force pass to get it up and working and test my parsing engine and all that. But all the different compressed formats of tiled maps, everything that you can set properties on, flipping, rotating tiles are supported. Having tile sheets that are in different dimensions from the tile set are supported. That all is taken into account. I've pretty much banged on it and tested every kind of crazy scenario that you could do on that. Right now, it the project, you can get it at Bitbucket. So if you go to bitbucket.org and put in Xtiled, you'll find it. It is going to be an open source project. It's an open source project right now. I just haven't uploaded a license. I'll put an Apache style BSD style license up. So that should be pretty flexible for anybody who wants to use it. If you're not familiar with what makes a BSD license, a BSD style license, that's the one that just says, hey, it's here, take it, no liability. You don't have to give it back. You don't have to make any contributions, open source as well. You want to package it, sell, I don't give a shit. This is just take it, it's free, there you go. You know, I kind of like that license over the open source GNU license that require, if you make modifications and distribute it, you have to make those modifications available. If you want to, you make them available. If you're making a game that you make modifications that become proprietary for your game, use it. I don't care. Keep it proprietary. Of course I would love for you to share back, but I understand you may not always be in that position, you know, where you can do that. So I don't like putting that requirement on there. I'm really happy with the way I got the format laid out, and like I said, I'm bringing in all the data. You may say I haven't done benchmarking between. That's something we should probably do with Captain Dubstep. Since it's a very large tiled map, we should probably benchmark between the two versions. Like tag this one and then make all the changes, and then see where we're at on ours. And also not only benchmark frame rate or see if we're drawing any faster than we were before, which I don't know that we would be. I don't know that I'm doing anything significantly different. Where my version may be worse than Nick's is I may take up slightly more memory. And that is because in Nick's, like, his tile array was composed of tiles that were used, I believe, in his tile array. And I will keep a null tile for an empty spot.
Okay.
So you may have an array, and there may be a shitload of nulls in that array. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to say, I want to go to this grid in my map and just index that. Just, create the index and go there. You know what? I might make a breaking change. I might make a breaking change to what's up now. I didn't do the multi-dimensional indexing. So you can just do X and Y. I did it as a single linear array, but it should be no problem to convert that over for ease of use. So, I mean, I put in there default sprite batch rendering, so you can just call draw and pass in your sprite batch, and that will work. But also, I wanted to make sure everything was exposed. And if you're going to take over and do your rendering, it should be fairly simple to jump in there and do whatever you want to do. Then the other reason that we went off and did this is Nick kind of announced on TiledLib going forward, he was no longer maintaining the rendering side. Like, he was going to leave that for each person to implement his own rendering. So then it's like, well, we're going to have to write our own rendering portion. We wanted to write the other piece, in for penny, in for pound, let's go. And I got it out in about a weekend. I mean, really, for the most part. I mean, taking some data from one format and moving it to another format, I am fucking awesome at that. Like, as a line of business developer, that is my fucking wheelhouse. You got some data, and you want to change that data to some other kind of data, and just different data formats, but the same basic data, fucking give me a call, man. Like, I can transmorph your data from point A to point B. You got some CSV, you need some XML? Fucking call me, man. I will CSV and XML your shit. You need tab delimited files? Fuck, let's go. Let's do that shit, You want, you got some little Indian shit, and you want to go big Indian network stream byte? Bring it. Bring it, motherfucker. I can do that shit. I will pack those motherfucking bytes in that array like you won't believe. So, it did not take me long to get through the content pipeline.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised how quickly you had it up, but then again, it makes sense to handle the content pipeline ourselves because I think some of the problems we were having with TiledLib came down to, I remember like the tile properties issue we had where the property of a tile in a tile set did not carry over to a sprite
Correct.
with that tile. That was kind of a limitation of how he handled, like he stored it in the pipeline.
Because what we were doing our tile sheet, because we were using like object layers and things like that,
Yeah.
we wanted to say, this is an enemy, and it has these properties about it. And that way you could just grab the tile and sprinkle them around and not have to go to each one. He also had, if you had a null object name, that threw an error at runtime. Or at compile time, or you could not have a null, and now you could have nulls. Like, if they're allowed to be nulls in tiled, they're allowed to be nulls in there. So I adhere pretty damn closely. Now, what I've been working on, I got a little bonus round for the guys watching the video here. You can attempt to make whatever. No, you can't, because it's in mirror mode. Figuring out how to take a isometric map projection and render that back out, and simplifying it as much as I can to make it easy. And the way I've come up with, I haven't implemented yet, but the way that and it also depends a lot on how like tiled is storing it, because there's a ton of different ways to do isometric maps. So I kind of am locked into the way that tiled map editor is doing it and what data they've made available. But my process is basically going to be projecting that back into an orthogonal map and rendering it out as such. And then I'm doing that because it will make it easy to just say, give me the map from these coordinates to these coordinates and render them to these coordinates to these coordinates. And you won't have to deal with any of the isometric bits. I guess if you're making an isometric game, you are at some point going to deal with the collision detection and things like that. But for the general rendering, I can power the base. But then again, I'm just going to provide you with the option to go render your own as well. I just kind of want to be feature complete and say, yes, we render all the maps that tiled renders.
How are they handling isometric? Are they taking a normal square tile and is it doing the rotation?
So your tile sheet is pre-rotated and pre-squished.
Okay.
So you have to do two steps to get to isometric. You have your square,
right?
Rotate it by 45, and then resize it by half. Will give you a 45-degree isometric perspective. Okay. If you change how much you squish the tile by,
it looks like it's a different
perspective angle. Yeah. So some people do like a 30%. Some people do 45%. So tile does a clever thing to take itself out of that bit of the equation. So when you set up tile, you set up the height and width of your tiles in an isometric map, and you have to set them to that ratio. So if you want a 45 projection and you got 64 by 64 tiles, you would put in 64 by 32. And then that renders a rectangular map based on the height and width that you gave it, and then rotates the map by 45 degrees. Okay? That's important because when it stores the tiles on disk, they still go as if they were a square. So if you're looking at the diamond, it doesn't start from the top and draw down. It starts from the top and then goes down the right side, and then goes back to the second tile from the top, and then goes down the right side again. So it's drawing it as if it was a square. What I'm doing, so then your tile sheet though is, in that case, 64 by 64, but you draw your tiles to the center of the map, and this is where the tile offset comes into place, because essentially then you give it an offset to say, these tiles really start 16 pixels down. So if you did 64 by 64, you've given it 32 extra pixels tall. To find the midpoint, you have to offset by 16. Making sense? Because the height of the tiles are 32 in the game world, your tiles are 64, you have to come from the top 16 down, right, to get the tile start. Tiles have an offset of 16. Okay? So when you set your tile sheet up that way, that's the way you set up your tile sheet, but they're pre-rotated and pre-squished. So basically your artist draws them in the proper perspective. The artist doesn't have to draw something that then gets resized. Now, the reason that you give them 64 by 64 and not 64 by 32 is, in an isometric perspective, you go above your tile, right? So, like, the tile below, the grass on it will cover up the tile above it. This is what makes a rendering order also important.
In that case, the offset would be...
Well, that's why you need 64 by 64 space, because you're going to draw to a 32 by 64 box, but then go above it right, to create the isometric effect. And that's why you kind of need the offset. So then it renders the isometric maps by, I don't know if they're center points or bottom points, but basically by center points in the horizontal, and I don't know about the vertical. I'll double check it on that. So basically what I figured out is that I can take an isometric map, draw, and that's basically what I did on the chart here, draw lines through the centers of all the tiles, and that will create an orthogonal grid that has all my centers marked of all my tiles, and then I can project the orthogonal map with their centers onto, or the isometric map onto the orthogonal map, mapping the centers, and that'll work. Now the downside is I will create a lot more orthogonal tiles than exist in the isometric world, but they'll all be null, so they're not going to be taking up much RAM, you know, if any at all. Like, it's really just indexer bits that you're losing there. Now, what's the what's the implication? Man, we load a shit-ass large map with Captain Dubstep without issue. So I think we're fine.
Yeah, it almost sounds like if someone is using tile to do an isometric game, like, it would be helpful to have them come in as, you know...
Yeah, and that may be the good, good pick it apart, contribs and pull requests to the project. It's like, I'm making an isometric map, and these are the helper functions and things that would make my life easier.
Yeah.
And that's kind of future stuff that I want to add. I want to add easy methods to do collision detection with the map and things like that. Like, hey, is there anything at this tile? Like, or here's my rectangle. Give me back the tiles that are, intersecting with this thing, and then I can do processing and stuff like that. So add some helper methods for the runtime side, and that will kind of know from doing our own maps what will be beneficial and helpful.
Yeah, and I mean,
but we're not doing orthogonal maps, so
yeah, someone out there knows the right data structures to use and the right, the right APIs and stuff. Though,
because when I started this problem, I tried to Google around, and pretty much every tiled map editor plugin that supports Python and JavaScript and all that thing, they're like, yep, we support it. Oh, but not isometric. Like, everybody's kind of looked at that and went like, yeah, I'm not working on an isometric game, so fuck that.
Is that just something people do proprietary?
Oh, or people that have done it, have kind of written their own thing and things like that. And there seems to be so many different ways to do an isometric map that there's kind of a tendency that they are doing it their one way and they've written their own. Like, a whole Flash tutorial I saw was doing they were writing their maps down in orthogonal data format and then doing the rotating and the squeezing at runtime. And so I mean, I kind of follow the process, but that's already happened at this point. I tried to understand the tiled code itself. Tiled itself is written in C with the Qt library, and there was too much Greek on the screen for me to I could see kind of like, okay, here's the equation that's doing the rendering, but
then some magic happens.
Yeah, I can't understand. I'm having trouble knowing where these parameters are coming from. Like, which are the screen parameters, which are the object parameters and things like that, and then I just started, working it out. And, for me, these are almost kind of spatial map puzzle problems, right?
Yeah.
So I do very well at those. In fact, I'll give a shout out to GA TechRad. Resistor went on Xbox Live Indie Games this week. That's his first game. It is his first game. Don't go there, please, and expect an amazing game. I'm not plugging it because it's an amazing game. I'm plugging it because it's local Knoxville props and local Knoxville game designer. First game out there. Release, goes through the whole process. It's learning and it's great. But it is a puzzle game, and I kind of played quite a bit of it the other night when I went in and bought it and downloaded it. I played quite a bit of it the other night just for the speed thing, because like I said, I play a lot of these puzzle games, and I think you guys remember when we were doing the trials. We'd be playing these spatial type puzzle games, and you guys might be controlling it, and I would go, well, you just rotate it. And rotate it and slide. Jeez, how can you not see that? Give me the fucking control. This is...
That's why I would not play those games with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So... I mean, I played through the entire Portal 2 and never really got hit with a challenging puzzle. Oh shit, how do you solve this? It was always saying like, walk around, get my surroundings. Oh, well, obviously that's going to have to go there. To get to there, I'm going to have to do that. And then I got a vague idea.
Portal started getting hard when it also required reflexes. That was the...
Yeah, some of the later ones did, but, you know, I thought it was okay. I got through the whole game with that. So that's kind of what's been going on. You check those out. I'll make sure I link to Chris's project and X-Tiled if you're interested in contributing or checking that out. Any feedback whatsoever, leave there, make an issue, leave comments or something. I don't think there's a forum on Bitbucket. I have a tracker I can turn on. So I guess just use that for questions. I mean, I know it's kind of a bad forum system, but that seems to be all they have. I don't know. I'll poke around that a little bit more. I haven't turned on those features in Bitbucket before.
Yeah, I think this is our first public.
Yeah, I think this is our first public. Well, Inkablocks. I think Inkablocks is Google Code still. That's where we put it. That's. I think that's what's going on the home front. I think that really covers any. I mean, because you were at DragCon.
Yeah, and I have basically not done anything since.
No, you were. I mean, definitely for me it was during the week.
Yeah.
So like this was like I got home from the weekend and it's like I really don't want to do a whole lot, so I am going to just write a tiled engine and got to focus on that quite a bit. It turned out normally I would have had my older daughters this weekend, but they had gone with their mom to camping, you know, and so it's like actually I was like, oh, well, I don't have them. So Monday was a holiday, so I still went into work because I don't get holidays, but it was a light day, you know, so bugged out of there an hour early, got back and just cranked through most of it and got most of it done, and really happy where that's at. I'm really glad where I've got that too. Let me make a note that I need to do arrays on that while I'm thinking of that, because that was something I wanted in tiled lib that we didn't have.
To be able to go XY coordinate, give me
that. So the news. Oh man, we got a lot of news to kind of catch up on. It's going to trigger a lot of discussion, really.
Yes.
So I mean, I really kind of culled through. We got feedback on like our 100th episode or something like that. Of like, you know, I love you guys, you know, because you cover, you know, the drama that, you know, I would miss otherwise. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, fuck yeah, we do. You're damn straight. We cover a shitload of game development and drama. You know, like a lot of our shit that we cover is, you know, Gabe Newell spouting his mouth off, not said this, you know, and yeah, that's a fair characterization.
I see a comment like that and I'm like, maybe I should make less snarky comments. Like, that's how I read that.
Giving the people what they want. I think it is, you know, a reminder. We've said this before.
It's your fault we
get back to... I think Code Stock derailed us and Dreambuild Play derailed us.
Yes.
But get back to the extra credit style of topical podcasting.
Yes.
But just give us some time to ease back into that.
Figure out what topics we want to actually talk about.
Yeah, we made a list, so we got a list to pull from. Yeah. Go back over and review. But news-wise, so Microsoft, we did not cover Dreambuild Play. And we didn't cover the nominees, I think, really. We might have mentioned it at the end.
But at one point, I don't think we knew.
But the winners had come out since then and all that. So first, I want to take nothing away from Silver Dollar Games. Congratulations. They are the grand prize winner with One Finger Death Punch. And I have seen the typical, oh my god, Silver Dollar Games and all that. Now, I haven't played One Finger Death Punch. But last year when they entered Jump Hero and that was a finalist, and we played that and we went, we have to give props here. This is a good game.
This is a game, yeah.
This is a good game. This is a good, this is contest finalist worthy. This is fun. I'm enjoying that. So, these guys have put out so many little mechanic-based games that I think at this point for them to do a game that looks like a simple mechanic, like these guys are probably getting at the level where they can take a simple mechanic and they understand why that mechanic is fun and what makes it fun and what you add to it. You know, it's like Angry Birds. It's like one stupid little mechanic, but it sucks you in, right? So I think they're there. Runners up was Dead Pixels. Again, another great shout out to Xbox Live Indie Game Developers you know, the core, the guys that are always there represented. Ninja Crash, Team Devil. I don't recognize them off the top of my head.
No.
Team Devil doesn't come to mind. They may be on there with other services. None of their games stick out, neither of Devin does. And Gateway by Smudge Cap Games, which, you know, we saw that when Gullmean was on... No, that's 9 Dot Studio. Smudge Cat Games is...
I don't know.
I'm drawing a blank. I apologize. I deeply apologize. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on Gateways and Smudge Cat Games right now, as far as the developer's name. But Gateways, we saw Gateways. We were like, yeah, that is some indie shit right there. That is some fucking motherfucking indie-ass gaming right there. That is what you want out of an indie. It's a platformer, and it's got kind of retro graphics that, you know, they could be better, but yeah, whatever the hell. But, like, this whole thing with the portal platforming mechanic and time manipulation going on and all that just crazy shit. That's why I like indies. That's why I like playing indie games, is somebody taking a risk and doing awesome shit. So, you know, props to the winners. I think, you know, as far as like the comments and everything and the discussion of quality and what gets selected and what doesn't, because obviously we are all pretty much in agreement that it's a big fucking slap in the face that Axe and Birds was not in as a finalist.
Well, there are a number of games as well. Like we were talking before the podcast, like Evil Quest 2 didn't make it. Which...
No. Well, Evil Quest, I think, was in there. Not
Evil Quest was in there? Yeah. Okay, I knew one of them was.
But, yeah, there was others that I saw, and there's, you know, I used to go back to it. Fucking Moon Cheese was in there, you know? It's like, that's... Moon Cheese is the Windows Phone 7 game? Fine. Fucking great. But, like, as an Xbox game, it just seems wrong. It seems like you're not even playing the games. You're not even looking at it. So,
to be fair, you know, there's so many games submitted. I suspect we would have gripes no matter what.
Also, Dreambuild Play has never been a great champion of what's really going on in the XNA scene. You know, it's been kind of a PR push for Microsoft that you almost kind of wonder, like, well, if you're not going to really just, like, pull up the awesome ones to show off your platform, why are you doing this? You know, like, what are you getting out of this at this point, you know? So, yeah, all that has been said before and discussed. We're not going to rehash it here. Hey, guess what? Microsoft announced the Xbox games on Windows for Windows 8. No, those are not the Xbox 360 games that you can now play on your Windows 8 device.
It's because Xbox is now the gaming brand.
It is now Xbox a gaming brand. I don't give a fuck. I really don't.
It just creates market confusion as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I mean, not only that, but it's like, I don't give a crap the games that are on there. Like, it's Windows 8, Marketplace.
I was going to say, this is not Metro. Games for Windows. This is Metro.
It's fucking Minesweeper. We announced Minesweeper. Who? Fuck, shit, dude. Like,
it comes with achievement points now.
Oh, dear God. Yeah, why? You know, it's like... Yeah, it
does.
Metro is like...
not kidding.
Metro fills the void that that we've long since missed since switching over from being XBLIG specific, where we could gripe about the dashboard every week.
Is next year we're gonna have a podcast where we will have market data, and we're either gonna be wrong or right. We're either gonna be like, oh shit, look at this, market's huge,
Windows 8,
market share, everybody's converting and all that, or it's gonna be like, yep, nobody's running it, everybody's bitching about no sales in the marketplace of Windows 8. It's Xbox Live Indie Games, it's Windows 7 phone marketplace, all over again. They've learned nothing. I'm just going to be on the sidelines. I am not going to bother to jump into this platform. I will come to it late, happily.
I was going to say, you know, it's XAML, it's C#. We both have access to MSDN.
The fuck no, it's not C#. Not for us. If you want to go WinRT, if you want to go tablet, it's C++, motherfucker.
But
There's no managed game framework in the Windows RT.
well, okay, no. I didn't mean necessarily.
If you want to
like
run XNA, you're running a desktop app.
No. What I was saying was, we could get an app on Windows 8 easily. No, okay, maybe not an XNA based game, but it's
Not a game.
Well, yeah,
You would not easily do a C++ game. You would be overestimating our development shop.
No. What I'm trying to say is we can get into the app marketplace if we need to. Like, it's not like we're losing.
Oh, yeah. No, we could, devote resources and effort. And Unity, I think, has announced support or something for that. So.
But, I mean, not like a high-performance game. We can do, we can put an app in the marketplace.
Captain Dubstep could go to WinRT. We could do that. We could make that happen. Yeah. We choose not to. Unless,
of course, we need to choose it.
Yeah. So,
in which case, we're not that far behind. That was my only point.
Let's talk about something a little bit more relevant. Steam Greenlight. Holy shit. The internet lost its collective shit this week.
Yes, it did.
Complete. Journalists, gamers, developers. Holy shit. Like, I at some point, I just decided, I'm not going to link to anything. That's all it would be in show notes. It's links to all of the Steam Greenlight shit. But you know what? Google it. It's all over the place. You've probably seen it. You can't, go on the internet right now with, oh, shit, I just stepped in some Greenlight. Fuck. Can't get that shit off your boot,
I haven't even looked it up, and it's in, advertisements on the side of crap everywhere.
And really, my take on it, I know you said I'm supposed to not have this reaction, I'm supposed to tone this down, we've had conversations, but my reaction is really, fuck you all. And by fuck you all, I mean the gamers, the developers, and the journalists.
Okay, you have to explain that. Why?
Yeah, I mean, each one has their own separate.
Okay,
Okay. First of all, the journalists.
All right.
Just fucking why crybabies, Ben Kuchar or whoever of Penny Arcade Report, dude just fucking whines. I mean, he really does. He
has made his money. He's
complaining about Kickstarter emails. Now he's complaining about that you might get Greenlight emails. Oh my god, how hard is it that all upcoming indie games are in one searchable database now with video and screenshots. And Kickstarter, everybody that's doing an indie game is in one place. Props to Adam from XPlay. Well, he's not from XPlay anymore. I think he left G4, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't know what he's...
Formerly of XPlay.
Yeah, formerly of XPlay. Adam Sessler. And because he's gone on there and he's like, I want to cover indie games, and my biggest problem is discovery. I can't find these. I can't go to web forums. I can't play all damn Newgrounds. I can't find these in discovery. And okay, so anybody who's got an indie game that thinks it's worth their shit, they're gonna put it on Greenlight. You just have to go to Greenlight and spend some time searching. Also known as doing your fucking job. Okay? Covering tweets and forum posts is not your fucking job. There was, oh, Jesus Christ. There was a post on Develop, and I call it a post, not an article, because it's not fucking real journalism, where Peter Molyneux tweeted that they were renaming Curiosity because of conflicts with NASA Curiosity. And Develop guy writes this article. By the way, he replied to me, too. He's like, oh, I had a bad day.
Guy?
Yeah, the Develop guy. Because I courtesied him in the tweet of, we can do better than this. And so he just tweets. Peter Molyneux just tweets hey, we're gonna rename it because NASA's Curiosity thing. And there's a couple tweets what should we name it and all that, and then it became Curiosity : exploring the cube or something. I forget what the hell I came up with. It basically became a subcolon.
It's got a time limit on it. It's not a big deal what you.
David Johnson is Smudge Cat Games. Okay. So, thank you, GA Tech Red in there. So, this guy takes that tweet, the one tweet that started it, not the what game again, and he writes a story of NASA lawyers ceasing and desisting Peter Molyneux over the name Curiosity, they fucking trademarked it.
Did they?
First of all,
was this just a?
They fucking can't do that.
I was
it's the government.
Well, yeah, I assume this was just like a courtesy he was extending.
I am pretty goddamn sure that NASA and Peter Molyneux are in different trades. That one mark could exist in one and in the other, and that would not create marketplace confusion. Nobody would go to that fucking cube and go like, I don't understand, I thought I would be on Mars as a rover. No. The person that does that has escaped from the asylum. So, the fact that he made that into it. So journalists, get over the fucking bitching. Really. Like, cover the games. Quit bitching about ecosystems and all that. And if you want to write a meaningful article, pontificate upon how you could solve the problem of when it launched, which was basically like 700 games massively submitted, but all you had to do to submit a game was submit a video and 4 screenshots and a description. Yeah. And so the barrier to submission was so low, a lot of spam.
And if you go on there, there's like, I don't know if there's another view because I haven't dug around too much on it, but the box art that they have on there, it's getting really good submissions. Like, I'm not seeing a whole bunch of crap when I go in and look at it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of discoverability issues and things on the site. Now, all right, before we talk about Valve, which we will have to at some point talk about Valve, right?
Yeah.
We got to talk to the developers now. Okay? Because your game does not get on Steam, right? Is something for you to take back and grow as a developer and try to figure out why didn't it get on Steam.
And also,
except that it could be a crap game.
Yeah.
It could be a flooded genre. It could be a game that is great on the iPad, but not on Steam. Okay? There are a lot of reasons why Steam may not choose your game. You want to be on Steam because you'll make a fuck ton of money.
Yes.
Understand, you will make a fuck ton of money because Valve only lets through shit that people will buy. Okay? That's what makes Steam number one. That's what's making it dominate the PC market. I will give a shout out that I was talking with Apox, the developer behind Mute Crimson, and I only know him by his handle at this point, so I wouldn't even know what his name was. He's got some posts on NeoGAF. I'll link to this thread on NeoGAF at this post, and some of the stuff in there, he makes the points very well and succinctly, and there's a reasonable understand the argument from all sides debate there. So that is, I'm not calling him out. It's a good article, a good view into what we're actually, the complaints are and all that. But you can't bitch that there are a bunch of other crap games competing for attention as well. All right? That's the nature of the business, okay? Of all business. I don't care if you're trying to get... Games are art. Accept it. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't mean that they're high pieces of work that you study from afar. I mean they're an entertainment form. They're art. They're mental candy, right? They are movies. They are books. They are every other form of art we have ever had. Games are no different. If you're an author today, guess what? You're going to have to do some goddamn marketing on your own. Build your own tribe, build your own fan base before you're going to get recognition by a publisher who's going to get you to the New York Selling Best Times list. And even if your game is awesome and great, Field of Dreams is a movie. It is not reality. Do not think you can build it and they will come. You will have to build it and then market the shit out of it.
Well, and the thing is, like anything else, you can do a lot of things right, and you're still taking a gamble when you're still rolling the dice when you put it out there.
Exactly.
You kind of have to be ready to. This may fail. What's my next game?
It is not a sprint. It is a marathon.
Yeah.
One game is not doing well. Make another game.
Yeah.
Make another game. Make another game. One of these games is going to be your catch. One of these games is going to be your Fruit Ninja. And boom, your fucking Half Brick Studios and bitches, bimbos, 40-inch TVs. That's what happens. No, bitches, big screens, and 40s. That's what it is. Sorry. Eminem reference. You're rapping about Vicodin and gays and, you know, Dre's rapping about bitches, big screens, and 40s. Like, I can't sell this. You know, skit. Okay.
No.
Somebody out there does, though, and they're laughing their ass off. Maybe. But they're like, you really fucked that up.
Yes.
Done
Probably
this.
got it and then was like, no.
You can't drink a 40-inch TV.
Okay, that's developers.
You can't get
Gamers.
sloshed off
I
on it.
want to hit you.
Gamers. If you do not understand what an in-development indie game is, stay the fuck off Greenlight. Alright? If you can't handle seeing the sausage being made, get the fuck out of the slaughterhouse, out of the kitchen, stay in Steam. Check Steam new releases, and play them when they're done.
I don't think you understand the sense of entitlement that exists on the internet.
They came to Steam,
I must understand.
the gamers came in, and they were like, why isn't Battlefield 3 on here? People on their indie games. You know, like Gateways, I think he's on there. I know Evil Quest is on there. And people are leaving comments like, why is this here? Where's Battlefield 3? I want to vote for Battlefield 3 to be on Steam. Fuck, dude. Like,
Go to Steam.
you don't understand shit. Just leave.
Well, I thought you were just going to be griping about like the $100 fee or something. Things
no,
are sadder than I thought.
That's when we get to no, the $100 fee is on developers. The $100 fee is
Well, I know what you like. I thought that was the big point of controversy. I didn't know people were griping about.
Also, the question is, would you potentially buy this game on Steam? Not, do you think this developer should shove his father's cock up his own ass while eating out his mother? Actual quote from the comments. This is not YouTube, by the way, and I call upon everyone who goes in.
What was the context for that?
It doesn't matter.
Was it an insult?
This is what if somebody does not like your game, it's YouTube level comments on there. I don't know if you've gone in and read the comments. The comments are the worst of YouTube.
These are
They are political
kids
and
from
racist and
Xbox Live that you turn
Okay.
off your microphone
on
for.
YouTube. Who gives a shit, right? But all of these people making these comments on Steam have to have a Steam Enhanced account. A Steam Enhanced account means you have bought something. Okay? That's how you get a Steam Enhanced account. That means getting banned from Steam is a bigger deal than getting kicked from YouTube, because that means you can't log in and play your damn games, right?
Right.
Report. Okay? I'm saying to everyone, when you see these blatant racist attacking I don't care if you get on there and say, oh, this game looks like a Minecraft clone and we don't need more Minecraft clones. Fine. That is fine.
That is a valid
I think you should
point.
state your argument better, but that is fine. When you cross the line and you are bigoted, racist, attack the developer personally,
Angry, violent, sexual
yes,
things.
all of that crap. Click the report button. Click that profile, click the report button for violation of terms of use of the service, and let Valve start banning these. And I hope Valve does come in and start banning these, just to the point is learned, a few accounts start getting banned, and it will clean up real fast. Because like I said, these people have a shit ton invested in Steam, and the idea of a warning level and like, hey, here's a 3-month ban. Oh, you don't think we can do that? Here's this post where you told the developer to shove his father cock up his own ass while he's eating at his mother. Now, here are our terms of service that say there should be no discussion of anal inserting of cock, male or female.
I'm sure it says that.
Lawyers think of
exactly-
everything.
Exactly.
Lawyers think of everything.
There isn't some blanket generalized
By the way,
term that could
you
cover
can
that.
also not take us to a class action lawsuit. You have agreed to arbitration of cock inserting said clause. That's in there as well.
Rule 63 shall not apply to this.
What's Rule 63?
I don't know.
Not 34.
It's Rule 34.
I don't know. It's a number in there, and you knew which one I meant.
All right. So everybody, get a hold of your shit and calm the fuck down.
See all this,
Understand, this is one of the watershed, fucking amazing, awesome moments in gaming history right now.
and you are ruining it.
You are potentially kind of ruining it. You have to understand.
This is why we can't have nice things.
All that shit you're seeing on Greenlight, was what was going into Valve's inbox. And this is coming out of a problem of Valve going, we can't look at all this shit.
Yeah.
We need a filter. Community, are you willing to provide us this filter? And then we will look at just the ones that bear a worth of our time. We are still going to curate. We are still going to look. We just want you to help us filter and tell us. We're into fucking retro JRPGs right now, and we want a shit ton of them. So Valve, find us the best JRPG retro games and get them on the service. And Valve will go, all right, you asked for it, we get it. Because they do. Valve gets it. This is why they're dominating, okay?
It's very much like Kickstarter, what they're doing.
You open up something to the masses, you know? You're gonna get in garbage. There's gonna be a high signal-to-noise ratio, but you're not gonna get the indie gems. You're not gonna hand select something and go like, holy crap, this is a diamond in the rough that everybody should play without wading into that muck. And this is not just games. This is not just a problem of, it's the Xbox Live indie games all over again. This is just art.
Movies, music,
and
etc.,
there's going to be
whatever.
a ton of bad art, and there's going to be a ton of exploitive hackers trying to game the system and jump on a system and try to capitalize on something and jump on. I'm sure there were Picasso knockoffs when he was popular. There were other like cubicle clones. So history repeats itself. Period. That followed that. But, it's part of the process. And if you're not up to it, nobody's making you do this. This is different from Xbox Live indie games in that is not your interface to buying these games. Okay? You can stay out of it if you want to. Some people will go in. I think they do. I think that Valve did an excellent thing, back to journalists who stuck it the fuck up and do your damn job. I can go in and make a list publicly and say, this is the GameMarx Greenlight list. These are the games that GameMarx thinks you need to go in, take a look at, and potentially like. Right? I've considered, and it's only a week out, and I'm kind of watching how Greenlight shakes out right now, I've considered replacing our Kickstarter segment with the Greenlight segment. Or marrying the two. I'll just have to see how it works out, because right now, I need easy tools to go in and check the new releases. And I have to be able to do it quickly because there's a lot of new releases. And the screen scraping stuff that I've done with Kickstarter has allowed me to do that. I'm kind of waiting to see what shakes out of Valve on that. Okay, so Valve. My opinions on Valve. First of all, yes, this is awesome. This is amazing. Second, fucking awesome in how quick they have responded to tweak and address. It's only been out a week. They're already jumping in and like, we're changing this and we're doing that. And they said we're going to continue jumping in and tweaking until it becomes what it was. They had like thumbs up, thumbs down, and now the button just says, is this a game you would like to play? Or hide this from my list. I've looked at it, and no, it's not something I think I would like to play. So it's not a thumbs up, thumbs down. They took away, you can't even see the rankings of games now until you back them. I don't like that from, a guy who likes to have stats on everything perspective, but I like that from a protection of the sanctity of the system.
Yeah.
You can't rate this system, you can't rate this game based on what others have. You have to log in with your Steam account, see what others have rated it, and doing that. Your game's up there forever. Your game does not have a period in which it needs to be successful. You get enough votes, you go in. They have clarified that you get enough votes, you go in. A negative vote is not a negative vote. It's no, I'm going to pass on this, but we are only counting the positives. We are not counting the negatives against you. So,
because it's a marketplace.
Right. If there's enough people this will sell to, we will get it. We don't care that there's people who won't buy it. There's people who won't buy every game. So, I think they're doing a whole lot of things right. I think it got a little controversial with the $100 fee. I think it's debatable to the amount.
Yeah.
$100. It's not insignificant. $5 is not enough. I think anyone who's not willing or able to put out $100, though, is not ready for Steam.
Well, yeah, and it's on par with the App Store. It's on par with XBLI or App Hub. It's not, it's more than Google Play, for example, but still, I think if you're developing a game that you plan to sell and you have it to a level where it's worthwhile to put on Greenlight, like you have the art, you have the screenshots, you have the video, $100 it's not nothing, but it's, like it's a gamble.
Saying,
it's
like,
a calculated
your entire
gamble.
Game does not have a marketing budget of $100.
No.
And back to the indie developers, you need to market your game. It's so easy nowadays to get distributed and to be, to get these large markets with the App Store and even like Microsoft XBLA, PSN, those kind of things. The distribution is easy, but you still got to get the platform holders aware of your product. So your marketing may not be to traditional gamers, but you have to catch the eye of gamers to catch the interest so that these platform holders go, yes, this is a product we want on our platform because we will make money from it. And because the barrier to entry for development of games has gone down, there's a lot more people competing for that.
But, and I may be wrong, I may have read this wrong, I may be misremembering this. This is not $100 per game. Isn't it just like $100 just for the account? I can't remember.
I don't know that one way or the other.
For some reason, I thought I'd read that, but
it said $100 for submissions on their site, but I don't even know if they've got that up and implemented at the moment.
All right.
So I think more of it will shake out, and there'll be more posts and FAQs and all that.
If they do that, that actually makes a lot more sense. I don't know.
Once you have an account,
again,
I
like
would like a per game. I know it seems a little high, but I think if you're not able or willing to put in the $100, you don't understand the level that you're playing at when you're going for Steam.
Right.
You're just hoping for Daddy Warbucks to adopt you. That's your marketing strategy.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there's a lot of stuff that Valve does need to change. Or will need to test and kind of figure out what works. For example,
and that's the thing. This may change next week, and they're committed to doing that.
Yeah. And I like the fact that the $100 is a good gatekeeper, but it's all going to charity. I mean, it's economic rent. They're
not making money off this. They're giving it to charity. I know people will argue that $100 is high, but I'm like, what are you writing your games on again? Like, how much?
Yeah.
Your PC, your Xbox account, developer's account, your iOS Apple account. I know that the $100 towards Steam is not a guarantee, whereas in the other platforms, like you pay the thing, and assuming you don't break terms of service, you get on. Like, there's not a vetting process like Valve. There's not a curation process to go to. But if you can't send enough people to a de jure version that will give you $100 to get on the Greenlight program, take a hard look at your game.
Yeah. And I think the $100 has kind of a parallel in Kickstarter. In Kickstarter...
Fucking launch a Kickstarter for $100. Seriously. I tweeted and I joked that, but seriously, go on to Kickstarter and say, I need $200 so to cover me to the Greenlight entry program.
Well,
if you can't get that, do you think people are going to want to buy your game? Do you think once you get in the program, people are going to thumbs up and like your game?
Yeah, I think the gripe is coming from this idea that it should be open and everyone should have a shot, but really I think that's what Kickstarter is for. Kickstarter is if I had this much money, I could do this. Steam Greenlight is more, I have this is coming, this is happening. It's like step 2. It's the later phase.
Steam Greenlight does encourage, and then they said in their FAQ and everything, that they encourage in-development works.
Right.
Because if it does get voted up, if it does get popular, they would love to offer you some help and offer you some guidance. But
it still feels a little less speculative than Kickstarter, and so I can see why you would want to have that skin in the game to kind of...
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this is not the out the gate,
the barrier to entry.
I am launching my game, here's my concept, now I got my concept art, now I go to Greenlight. Yeah. This is late down the process. This is that you've got a game very near completion. You're within the realms, because, at this point, you are selling your game to gamers. You're not taking the money yet, and you're not giving them the deliverable, but you're basically... This is why game AAA studios hold off until the last moment to start their marketing push. This is why they have their embargoes and everything, because they need to have that short window to get excitement up on the game, and then it comes out, and then they get the sales. And so that's where this fits in the process. And at that point, if $100 is do or die, you're really... not committed to this.
And honestly...
And again, I can say, like, hey, like maybe $50 would also call the spam as well. But $100 is kind of a message.
Yeah, and again, like, there's that parallel with Kickstarter. With Kickstarter, to pledge or to comment, you have, as a player, as a user, you have to pay in. So... There's not that limitation on Greenlight. So the $100 on Greenlight I kind of liken to like having a good video, having decent information on your page. If you're not willing to pay $100 to get on Greenlight, it seems like the same concept as you go on Kickstarter and you say, well, I have this great idea, but I can't, we don't have a video yet, and we don't have any concept art, and we don't have any information. Yeah. Just trust us.
Exactly. And look at how well those do.
Exactly. And they fail for different reasons because it's a different model.
I think that's a good cap on the current tech of Greenlight. It's going to evolve. That's the other thing. Like, people are making this black and white. Like, it's like they've already proven it's going to evolve.
The only thing my only reaction is you're surprised that people will hate something and that they will ruin something. I just naturally expect that from people.
Well, no, it's not the surprise. It's that, so first of all, it was kind of like, for the people complaining about the quality of crap games and developers about the comments of like, have you been on the internet?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is opened up to the internet as a whole, so what...
People are terrible.
...did you expect? Now,
humanity is terrible.
I think that the $100 is clean up to developers. I think for that, it is on Valve to clean up those comments as well. And, that needs to be... People can comment and they can like or not like and discuss the game, but outside of that, it needs to stop. And so that's going to be a trickier problem because they can't charge gamers for using the Greenlight system because there's no potential upside for them. So, I don't know. Maybe, rep systems and moderation and reporting. Because, one thing as a developer, like, I would hate to say that you could do this because you could whitewash your thing, but, like, I almost feel like the developer should have some control over comment moderation.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an all-or-nothing gambit, but, if you want to take comments private or something...
It almost seems like Valve should have one level higher of moderation up there. Like, no, this comment should stay in. Like, you moderated incorrectly, you get flagged. I don't know.
But this is new territory being explored, and Valve seems committed to figuring it out.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're going to make more money from this. They're going to find the indie games that they can't find, needle in the haystack right now, get them on the service, and become even better. And segueing off of that, Valve is hiring for a hardware project. I hate being this fucking right. I hate, just being right all the time. It's a curse. But they kind of reiterate that, like, hey, we're a software company, but we believe in open platforms. We just don't see it heading that way. So we need some hardware guys for our hardware thing. By the way, next month, check out our, TV version of the interface, navigate with your controller, play in your living room. Totally not a console, though. Totally a PC version that you navigate with your controller in your living room. Not a console. It's not a console. That's the acronym. Not a console. NAC. That's what they're launching. It's the Valve NAC. The not a console. 360 PS3. NAC.
Because they're going to get sued, I guess.
DS Lite. Boy. Yeah. Now the not a console supports the Oculus. I don't know. So there's more rumors that way. Of course, this does up the arguments of, like, Valve's power in the industry, you know, and of course there's, like, Notch's whole, like, you know, they're scarily powerful, even though they're really nice.
Yeah.
All these companies have been really nice. That's why we got them powerful. We make them powerful because they're really nice and we love them. And then one day they go, now it's time to activate the plan. And, you know, fucking Microsoft selling your data, you know, to advertisers and politicians now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me because that seems to be the kind of the way things go. Like, Apple was, you know...
That's actually a story I had queued up by Ben Butthurt Kuchera.
Of what?
That Xbox Live political coverage is invasive and unwelcome and unprofessional. How dare they sell my data, and you know, to a politician campaign? And it's like, it's fucking advertising. It's what they've done since day one, dude. Like, you've known that because you saw a picture of Mitt Romney made it disgusting. Like, fucking Chuck Norris selling you World of Warcraft was fine or something. Like, it's your data sold.
But I mean,
are you really
political
gonna, like,
campaigns are using the same.
Yeah, are you really going to complain now that it was sold to Mitt Romney? Is that really the straw? You know? And by the way, the whole, like, extrapolating into, like, potential for misuse of the elections and all that. Are you serious? Like, you follow nothing of, like, the voting laws that are being passed to keep people from the polls and shit? Like, there's a bunch of legal but morally questionable shit going on right now to rig voting in this country.
All they want to know is...
fucking Xbox dashboard.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now...
Anonymous data, basically. Well, not
from the traffic the Xbox Live Indie section gets, nobody's in the fucking political section, alright? Just like the Xbox Live section, they're either bored or drunk or both. Right?
You hit it by accident, not on purpose.
Oh, Jesus. Just Ben, man. Ben. Speaking of Ben, I guess I queued up too. I thought I wasn't going to do it, but I did. You get a whole article bitching about Kickstarter. And, like, bitching that somebody on Kickstarter approached him and said, hey, if you run, you know, would you like to run something else on Kickstarter? And we would give you copies of the game and such and some swag. And Ben is like, how dare they? How dare they do that? And you know what the real fault of the whole scenario was? The guy should have sent him the game and the swag with a nod, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? Hey? Then actually explicitly state why he's sending the items. Then he would be doing it exactly like the AAA industry does. Where they send shit to all the game journalists, trying to get them to cover the game. And then Ben's all like, we are not marketing. Because like the guy responding goes, oh, I'm sorry, you know, it's our marketing budget and we're not bribing and all of that. And Ben's like, we are not marketing. And it's like, the fuck you are, dude. Where do you think, when the AAA studios have PR liaisons that interact with you, what VP do you think they report to? The VP of marketing? You're fucking marketing, okay? You're damn sure not journalism. Just forget that. You are not journalism. You need to go look up that word, and then every morning, like daily affirmations, you just need to read yourself the definition of journalism every day for a year until that seeps in what journalism is. You are, at best, marketing for the company and sales advice to the consumer. That is the noblest role that game journalism can perform right now. Because you're for damn sure not looking through the indies and calling up the ones that we've missed. You know?
And you've long since ceased to be enthusiast press.
You're only reporting upon, like, sexploitation and the industry and all that and racism when somebody says, hey, give me a sandwich at a con. But unless that happens, unless there's Tentacle Rape the card game, none of that's discussed, right? So that's just a link bait moment that you do that for. So
what you're saying is...
I'm off Ben's Christmas card list. That's what I'm saying.
Someone needs to do, like, the newsroom parody, except game journalism.
I think that book's being written. We'll get to that at Kickstarter time.
Okay. You know, the first question to ask when you
Sorry.
the first question to ask when you cover something is, why do people need to know this? What does the story matter?
Yeah. You know the UN are going to use Minecraft for urban development?
How is that going to work?
I have no fucking clue, and I do not understand it from any of the announcements, but there's like, Minecraft is the perfect way to collaborate on urban development for these troubled areas, and the community can participate.
No.
What?
I figured as somebody with an architecture degree, you might have an issue with that.
I want to stab them in so many faces.
It's like, it's gonna be hilarious because like this is in where are they like looking at doing this?
They need to talk to the people with those serious games that we went to that convention to. Those are the people you want to bring this shit to, not Minecraft. I love Minecraft.
I don't think they mentioned a specific area. The UN habitats to give youth a chance to participate in the urban planning process. So your life, your world, your environment is shitty enough that the UN is creating habitats for you.
Uh-huh.
Do you really think that the youth are looking to play Minecraft? Do you really think that's, fuck the malaria, the AIDS problems,
what they
no
need
clean water,
is the
no
UN.
school system, Minecraft.
No.
Here's something that's going to blow your mind.
What?
Somewhere out there, someone has read this story and determined that the UN wants to use the popularity of Minecraft to spread its socialist, fascist, Nazi, one world government, antichrist, whatever else, the conspiracy
and now
theories.
I love this story.
I didn't read the comments, but I'm sure that's in there.
Because it's the UN.
I don't know. It's just crazy.
It's the equivalent of a strongly worded letter, but it's a conspiracy theory somewhere to someone.
So yes, Uganda will have a shit ton of block architecture.
That's clearly what
everything
you
is
need.
square. Huh? Look at that. Everything's big blocks. And this guy's over here hitting it with an axe, so we don't know why.
So what you're saying is, like, if you're in a place that is really badly run down, the fact that you don't get much more accuracy than a big giant block the size of 3 people is totally cool.
Yeah, that's great, man. And then somebody built the Starship Enterprise. That's
Oh.
I want to give a shout out to Jim and over at MockX Game Blog. He reposted the best practices. So essentially, as Microsoft is wont to do, they fucked up the whole create MSDN website again, and shit's gone missing, and it's all that. So he basically had copies salvaged, the best practices. This is really kind of like an evil checklist kind of thing. This is a great read-through for all game developers. I mean, some of it's specific to XNA, some of it's specific to the console development world, but just here's a good, thought, okay, we got our game, we're done, we're in the polish mode, our menu does this, our controllers all work, if you got a Rock Band thing plugged in, it's not going to fuck it up, and this works, and the gamer doesn't have something unexpected happen when they click a button and things like that. So I mean, it's really, really good. It's been around a while in the community, and I'm really glad that he picked that out. So I have a link to that in the show notes. That's just something worth reading. Kickstarter posted a big blog post with some stats of we made a shit ton of money off of games, and that's no shit, Kickstarter. Thank you, Captain Obvious, for being in charge of the business intelligence at Kickstarter. There are a bunch of useless charts that say we made a shitload of money off your Kickstarter games. There's not a whole lot of these games worked and these games didn't, and here's useful information.
Just, hey, look at us.
Useful information. Gamasutra had a Kickstarter survey. So this data is not built off of Kickstarter information. This was built off of surveying people who are backing games on Kickstarter. So there's some bias in that.
Well, how many participants do they actually have?
1,500? Yeah, about 1,500.
Okay, so that's...
Participants that they had in the survey. Now, and there's a bias to this survey because if you ask someone what they want and what someone will actually do sometimes are two completely different things.
Is this from people who ran Kickstarters or from people who contributed?
No, contributed.
Okay, so 1,500 seems actually a little small then.
This is asking people who back it, but it's got some useful insight, such as they basically they asked about their employment and income, the people who are backing, and surprisingly, they're at the lower end of the income spectrum. The people who are backing a lot, so that was kind of interesting. What game platforms do you mostly game on? 1,200 put down of the 1,500 that we're talking about here. 1,200 ranked PC number 1.
Is that orange bar?
That's that orange bar.
Wow.
And that's we've said that. If they're not PC games, they don't do well. Mobile is not, well, second is Xbox 360. Then comes in iPad, iPhone, then comes in PlayStation. So, consoles and PC gamers, hardcore gamers. And that is shown through what gets backed. How respondents evaluate, but ultimately not decide what to fund. And this is really just a breakdown. You can go read some of these details and these charts get detailed. But they kind of ask people of like, well, and most people are like, yeah, I watched the video, and based on that, I fund it or I don't. And that's where I stop. And it goes down to the different actions and where people tap out and say, yeah, I'm not going to fund this project. Here's where it can get dicey. Here's where I would go with factual, what backers have actually done versus what they claim to do. I don't know that these are off, but I would look at that in comparison. So the question was basically, what is the most important for your reward level? And number 1, most important, the smallest bar in this case is the most important, is a downloadable copy of the game. And then second is behind the scenes and making of documentary. And that's pretty closely tied with soundtrack. Then people look for boxed copies of the game. So I think what's really cool about all of that is that those are well within reach. Okay? Like, having a boxed copy of the game is much easier to grasp and do. There's a lot of outlets that can kind of handle that to you than a t-shirt.
Yeah. Right?
So that's really cool that should go in ahead of your t-shirt. Creating a behind-the-scenes documentary. Obviously, it'd be great to have a documentary team on it. If you don't have a documentary team at your disposal, do you have a college? Do you have a film department there? Like, hey, contact the film department, get some students who are interested in, doing this as their project. Not going to be great, but it's no work on your part. Third tier, do it yourself. Just do some discussions around the camera, save them up, and, release those out to the community. So that was, that's a very, in the low ranking order. From on that, they like backer-only community, your name or likeness in the game. I wish they would have split that out, like your credits in the game, your name's in the credits versus your name is in the game versus your image is in the game. Clothes, now we're getting like towards the bottom of the list actually. Clothes, physical soundtrack, toys, personalized stuff, and meeting the developer was the lowest on the list.
Because usually those things either tend to be higher or they're kind of I would say kind of non-standard.
Yeah,
like if you get toys,
and that's kind of hard to look at. Like when they ask this question, because the backers know, like normally it's very expensive to meet the developer. So maybe more of them would love to meet the developer, but they know they're not going to actually pay that much to meet the developer. Because as you saw earlier, they don't have a lot of money.
Actually, that kind of doesn't surprise me in the sense that
it could have just been. It could have been the Herman Cain logic of. Everybody with money had jobs, so they didn't answer the survey. only the people who were home without jobs had time to do the survey.
Well, no, I mean, it might make sense in the sense that...
No, I was not implying that Herman Cain makes sense. I was
No, I was going to say in the sense that with Kickstarter, you're kind of buying in cheap for a lot of games. Like, you're getting it for $10 or probably less than you would pay for a new game on say, Steam. So it's a good investment.
Once they backed the project, how did they spread word about it? And most of them, by a whopping majority, said it was word of mouth. Once I backed it, I just kind of told people, hey, I backed this, and, personal friends and chat and that kind of stuff. Facebooking and Twitter tied, but they were like half to a third as important. And then forums and community web posts, emails, and all that dropped off pretty quick, Reddit being the lowest. In the past 6 months, how many projects have you funded? The majority of the people on their survey have done like 1 to 3. But some 4 to 6s and some higher 10 pluses in there too. There were some people who hadn't funded anything in the last 6 months. And of those, how many did you mention to other people? 1 to 3, 4 to 6. Like, that's whatever. I don't know. Pie charts are evil. Ranked perks for those pledging $50 or more, one being the most important. So again, this is funny. They like ask the same question twice. They're like, above the $50 level now, what's the most important? And I guess people just like, well, the downloadable copy of the game is the most important thing. Like, give me the game. So there was no way, I think, in this survey to really like say like, what would you want mapped to levels? I would toss that data out personally. Small spenders with physical limited edition perks. I'm not going to get into a lot of these charts on that page. I don't know. They get less interesting for me on some of them. Is there any other charts? No. No, there's no other charts that I'm going to call out on the show. Go take a look. It'll be linked in show notes. Some Kickstarter data there. Let's see. Kickstarters this week. Now, this week I'm covering 2 weeks of Kickstarters since we've been out.
Wow.
I got a couple ones to give a shout out, though. First of all, I'm giving a shout out to Ultrabot 3D printing and some of the many other things that I do. 3D printing. I've actually messed with some 3D printing. These things are cool. I kind of want to get my hands on one. And if I go and commit to a 3D printer, this Ultrabot 3D printer is going to be the one. And that is because the guy in the video, William Steele, I know this man personally. This man is an OG hacker maker, okay? He has invented a device for projecting a laser on the back of a prop airplane. So, like, you're in the airplane, in the cockpit, and you put this little device on the top of the front of the plane, and it puts a laser projection on the back of your propeller and gives you an instrument readout so that you're looking at the propeller and the screen, the horizon, and not down at the dash, right? And done crazy other things. The man has worked on the Zune at, like, deep, hard levels of, like, stuff that I can't even probably know about. Like, he's hinted at. And like, I wish I could tell you the full story to this, but like, you go look at like the Zune HD apps, the weather app and everything that shipped on the HD, William Steele. I mean, the guys, he left Microsoft a couple years ago to go into the hacking. So I would do this. And essentially his 3D printer is taking the MakerBot cupcake and making it awesome, fixing its shortcomings, remodeling it. The guy knows his shit and he's improved it. I know him. He's a great guy. He knows his shit. I would recommend it. If you're in the market for a 3D printer, that is the one I would go take a look at and get this. The book that I was talking about, Up, Up, Down, Down, Left, Right, W-R-I-T-E, a how-to guide for freelance video game journalists. So basically, this guy's a freelance video game journalist, and people have been asking him, and he started a blog called Shop Talk, to kind of help you get writing, and then over a while, writing that blog, yada yada yada, make it a book. $15 basically to get the EPUB or I think it's like $5 or $10 for the PDF, or no, PDF preview, or the first 4 chapters. I think it's $15 for the full book is what it is, PDF or Kindle. I would like to get that. He's already been funded. He's already been backed. So I may just wait till it comes out. Even though we're not doing game reviews anymore, kind of like to see what he has to say as far as like how to freelance, how to break into the industry. Kind of curious on that. The last one here is a book on Sensible Software. These guys were huge, like early C64 era Apple type stuff. Some early game history. They have some claim. None of their titles speak out to me. Like, I don't have any great fond memories of their particular titles. But essentially, Read Only Memory wants to make I don't know if it's going to be like a coffee table book or like a real read book. Like, they show a lot of nice pictures and art of the games. But they've got a lot of people lined up to do interviews and pieces for the book, including Peter Molyneux, Gary Whitta. So there's a lot in the list. So that looks mildly interesting. Into the games. First one up. Worlds Beyond. Classic retro RPG about the end of the world. That should pretty much tell you everything right there. If people love your JRPGs, this looked like it launched and had a little interesting trailer and story and, that info. Looks to have decent retro-level graphics done well. If that's your bag, if that's your thing, I'd say it's worth a look. I'd take a look at it. I also feel, at this point, some saturation in this market, too. And this is not just, for us, even, a hypothetical academic question. But if you're making a retro JRPG game as an indie developer now, how are you going to differentiate yourself from a very ever-increasing growing market?
Yeah. Especially when a lot of them end up being... There are a couple of very obvious veins, like the parody,
right.
With retro
Here's the parody,
references.
Here's the
JRPG
Dragon Warrior,
story.
hardcore, type thing. So that's something to consider if you're going to launch a game like that. Two Brothers, next Kickstarter up. This is a game played retro Game Boy style. So the graphics are all done Game Boy style. But you actually, like, as you go through the quest and you play the game, like, you're questing for, let's see if I get back to the video point to 6 here. You're questing for color. So, like, you're unlocking and upgrading the world back into color. Novel mechanic. They are looking for $6,000. They're already funded. They've hit some right buttons here. They've done a really good presentation as well on their Kickstarter with that. So the game itself, of course, is going to run full screen. It's not going to run on a Game Boy. It's not even going to have their video has like a Game Boy shell done to kind of sell the concept. And they're like, no, it runs full screen. We're not going to put bars on your TV and everything and push that up. Okay. The first what the fuck of the week? 10,000 hours. This should not even be on Kickstarter by Kickstarter's rules. These guys are like, hey, we make business software. And we sell our business software. And that's getting kind of successful now that we kind of have some free time. So we want to make games now. We got a bunch of game ideas. Why don't you give us some money so we can go make our game ideas? We're not pitching a specific game idea. We are kickstarting the blogging about our pursuit of 10,000 hours to make video games.
So what's the rewards on this?
Not enough.
Well, no, obviously.
Pick 5 friends to be on the wall of shame, listed somewhere to see at least one of our games.
Exactly.
We don't know what game. We don't know what we're doing with our game. Pledge $10. 1,000 hours of our output, including any unfinished games, alphas, betas, screenshots. This shit we came up with. Here's 1,000 hours worth of effort.
Seems like a very experimental. So they're blogging all this. I'm assuming it could even become a documentary or something. I don't know. There's some value in it. You're buying you're paying for the process, and you are buying output. You're not. It's not backing a cause, but it is sketchy.
I think it runs afoul of the lifestyle clause.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
You're not supposed to have hey, I would like to start a business because I don't like going to work every day. So I want to do a company that's my own that I don't have to go to work every day.
I think their defense is you get the output and then you get kind of like the documentary behind it. You get the behind the scenes look at it, which, yeah. What does it look like it's going to make?
They've got almost 2,000 hours of 5 with 21 days to go, so potentially.
Yeah.
That's across 21 backers. So they're getting a fairly high average of backers. Have they got any crazy pledges? 1 at $200 or more, and 4 at $150. Interesting. Not accusing of anything, but just saying.
But totally accusing.
I am interested.
Interesting.
Crafty. Remix games with Crafty. So there's been a trend on Kickstarter lately. We're not making a game. We're making a thing that lets you make games. Now, I like this one a little bit more than some of the others that I saw, in that they sort of pitch it from a community standpoint, where everybody goes on the website and you build a pinball machine, and I start playing the pinball machine, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna make that give more loot here, or put an RPG mechanic in it or something, and use their tool set to do that. It looks basic, it does look limited to what you can do with it. They will probably be successful, though. They're about $5,000 on the way to their $13,000 goal with that. It was not clear on their model, right? Because you can try it out and beta and everything. And they're talking about you'll get premium status for 6 months, things to that. So I don't know. It was not clear to me if this was a free-to-play model is what they were launching, and trying to make money to another route on that. So if you check into that, I would figure that part out. Another what the fuck? World of Midgard 3D MMORPG for the iPad, iPhone, Android, and Ouya. Total asking price for all of that amazingness. We only need $20,000.
Well, clearly, I mean.
So
it just means they're efficient, right?
The game is a okay 3D world that you're running around with touch controls, and just like you're on the PC. I shit you not, Dylan. This is so hard ripped off of World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah.
Down to the name, World of Midgard, rideable mounts.
Chocobos!
There it is. They have the Alliance and the Fury. Play for one of the two factions.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was nothing in this game
And they are
that
red
spoke
plus
to a
six
creative
two.
endeavor of what we have in our world and storytelling, other than somebody said, we will have a unique story and world setting and mythos created for our world. But the entire time I'm watching it, I'm down to your mini map and everything of this is WoW on the iPad is what you're doing. By the way, that's not going to happen for 20 grand.
Yeah.
You know?
I can see why they're trying to do this, why they're basically making a clone for the iPad, because WoW is not on the iPad. In fact, I don't know of any MMO that's on the iPad. So
Georgia Tech grad says
Yes.
2006 called and it wants its MMO back.
It's somewhere between like a Dark Age of Camelot and an Asheron's Call. Maybe slightly better textures.
you're getting the bargain version.
It is on the iPad. Guts. Guts is interesting because Guts is basically a JRPG, but like tactics style.
Do you
And
climb the
then-
aggro crag?
I don't even know what that means.
Never mind.
But
Someone
it's
will.
also a roguelike. So take your JRPG, take your tactics, and then put it into like a roguelike dungeon crawl, and you have Guts. They're asking for $60,000. That's a good steep amount to ask for. It does look like they've got a lot going. I also wonder, is this written in XNA? Because I'm seeing a lot of cornflower blue happening. Hey, I'm just saying.
Is all.
Cornflower blue is a nice color for a background.
It is.
It's pleasant. It's easy to look at. It's not just your same generic black or white.
So
different.
that's going
It has
on.
color. It pops.
But
got
60,000. I don't know about the 60,000. 60,000 could be a rough mark to reach, but statistically, no, they haven't hit the 20% mark yet. So if they do, they're in. They may get it. It is still early. They got like 20 days to go. 21 days to go. God of Puzzle. I kind of put this in for just like, fuck it, I'm gonna say it. William Hung, alright? Like, that's what this spoke to me on when this guy was doing it. So I'm like in it, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of going for it. I see it, guy got in a dream, just got a puzzle, and you know, classic puzzle game, and he liked this game, he references it below or something. Puzzle Fighter, you know, and he loved that. And I'm watching along, and then, you know, as I'm like checking on, they're like, hey, we're gonna do the 3 model, and here's our main character. Come on, where? No, we gotta get to the main character. I gotta get to that video. It's gotta be up. Yeah, there she is. So, the main character actually turned out to be, this chicken lingerie in a seashell on top of an octopus, which I thought, goddamn, William Hung, that is an amazing way to get tentacle into the game without actually saying, like, tentacle porn.
So
totally
I can't
tentacle
quite
porn.
see it from here, but I'm thinking the world's creepiest birth of Venus.
Yes.
Yes.
Going on. And I was like,
clamshell.
Wait, is this actually...
In a clamshell on top of an octopus who is reaching up.
You
It's
say
like the
William Hung?
octopus
Do you mean
head.
the guy from American Idol that was like a terrible
Yes.
singer? Is this actually him?
Bang? No, it's not actually him.
It's not
Okay.
him.
The guy is Korean, though, so it's a little, like, slightly
Racist?
to make the association of Asian guy, bad English, tries really hard. But I'm going to be honest, man, that was like the vibe and like that. Hey, go give some love to God of War here. $120 of $10,000. Full disclaimer, I did not, but you go do that, man. More, an old school turn-based 4X. 4X is explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate. Strategy game. A strategy game. This looked pretty polished. This looked interesting. It's got $8,000 towards its $5,000 goal and 50 days to go. So, unless something crazy happens, it looks like it's going to make it. Come on, let's jump into the game right here, guys. I mean, it looked pretty good. It looked great visuals. You got your stat screens and all that kind of, like, if you're into this kind of 4X strategy games, like, this is going to do well. It's turn-based, so, I mean, this is civilization in space. That's I think the best way to kind of describe this. And it looks great. It looks great. I don't really have much whole lot to say on that. I could see myself playing that. I don't know that I'll back it because I haven't even cracked open Civilization, but yeah, we got to talk about it at some point. Homestruck adventure game. I don't know what the fuck this is.
I didn't even watch the video. I'm just like,
talked
yep.
before the podcast or something we were talking about. I guess I'm too old to understand what this is. This video looked like a 6-minute AMV to me. Like, at no point is there, like, gameplay going on in the video, just a whole bunch of random shit. Like, it's...
I started reading the comic after we looked down. I looked down on the what you get, and Jasmine was struck by a couple of the plushies. I was like, okay, well, let's see what level you have to be to get those plushies that you seem so fond of. And I'm like, yes, that's not going to happen. Let's go to the comic and read.
Well, I actually, like, you'll see tons of, like, the troll characters in, at, like, anime cons and stuff, and I just always assumed they were from some long-running series that is not my cup of tea, so whatever, but no, they're from this. I've tried to read it. I can't get past the first few pages because I just don't get it. And
I get it, but I don't like it.
Well, it is very, like, meme related. Apparently,
well, that's what we were talking before the podcast of, like, you know, in our day we could be geeks and love things outside of the mainstream, like Star Wars and computer games and things like that. And now all that shit's mainstream. So, like, we have left the geeks who want to embrace something outside the mainstream nowhere to go but insane.
I think that was the comment that Daryl Surratt of Anime World Order had, was basically like, you know, it's so obtuse that you can't just pretend to know Homestuck. So this is like the way to identify other people in the same whatever, and to freak out the normal geeks.
This motherfucker has almost $1 million. It is up to $865,000. $865,000. 800,600. Fucking lot of money. It's late. God damn it.
Another one thing that was funny when this first hit,
and they had a $700,000 goal too. So it's not like it had like a $5,000 goal and they're gonna do that.
It's
like,
gonna happen.
No, they were like, no, this is $700,000. We're gonna put a lot of money into, and that's the other thing I started picking up when I was watching this video was like, okay, this is not. What did we play, like GTX, KZY?
Yeah,
whatever.
It's weird, but it's not.
But we like, it's got some effort
There's
put into it. There's
internal consistency to it.
It's got some effort put into it, but the level of graphics and sequences that they throw together for this video, holy shit. That takes some work. That was a lot of time behind that video, whoever did that.
I mean, like, I like the animated
That's the
comics.
thing. That's there. You can get that.
Yeah.
This next game is a free-to-play City Federation, a Revolution, social gaming. So it's like, you know, you'll get, like, so many city bucks when you pledge. So there's no way to value that. I don't think this is going to end up getting funded. They're at $59. They need $60,000. I don't think. The reason I pointed out, I know this is not a great help to sell the game, and it's probably also hurting them. But if you take the time to watch a little video, it's kind of cute, kind of hilarious, and it's got this little story. The guy is playing the game. He works at a call center, and then he puts the guy on hold so that he can play the game. And then his manager's like coming over, and he's got headphones on, and he's playing the game, and he can't hear like his coworker trying to call him to give him a heads up and all that. And it's got a great twist at the end of the little video, and I was like, that's great. I don't think your game's gonna get back because it's a free-to-play game on Kickstarter, and your video doesn't show hardly any gameplay until later. The gameplay premise is basically Farmville, Cityville, build your city, social networking, all that. Except you can go in there and blow them the fuck up. So you can go over to the other city, and be like, oh, great city, I'm bombing it now.
So basically, the sort of mechanic that is the reason Minecraft has server whitelists and blacklists and things like that.
Yes.
Is built into this.
Yeah. I imagine there will be friend lists and things like that, and, rules to that and all that. But,
I don't know. That could become a mess.
This next game up, Monsters, a 2D shooter for Windows, Mac, Linux. I put this in here as a retro shooter with a twist is what it's billed as. They show a lot of screens. The graphics are, like, nailing the retro well. The problem is like everything they show of the game seems to be like cutscene stuff, and they said shooter, so I actually kind of wanted to see the shooter to see like, is this Wolfenstein? Is this Doom? What I would love to have seen gameplay, and you didn't see gameplay. You just saw a lot of really awesome pixel art going by. So they're looking for $4,000. They've already got $1,400, so they're probably gonna get funded. And they should, like, they have the art shop, so whatever the game ends up looking like, I think it's fair what they're asking for and what they're looking on. And their pixel art's pretty good. I mean, they're doing really good pixel art putting that into a game. Pro Pinball revised and remastered. So, Pro Pinball, I guess this is some pinball game, video pinball game from days of yore, and, this company got the rights back to it. They made it originally. Now they got the rights back. Now they got to make it again. And I think these guys almost have the feeling of like those guys that keep remaking pinball games into digital are doing gangbusters on Kickstarter.
So they're gonna convert their own. Basically,
we're gonna do that. So the thing is, they're asking for $400,000. They're up to $33,000. But $400,000 for a video pinball game that is not a digital reproduction of a physical machine for all these collector guys that do all the insane modeling and 3D scanning of every part and everything.
Sounds like somebody who they're getting funding by people who don't understand what the process is supposed to be for.
Yeah, they did bring on some like legendary pinball designer Pat Laurer.
I recognize the name.
I don't. Whatever. He's pinball guy. he made pinball tables, man. I was never into pinball. Like, I don't have this like crazy deep appreciation of pinball. It seemed like way too random for me.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we grew up kind of in the age of video games, and I get the feeling that that's like
was like
the generation before.
Exactly. The not necessarily maybe like a whole like genetic generation, populational generation.
Yeah, well, you know what
like
I mean. Just
gaming generation of hardware and all that. Like, video games killed pinball. Like radio killed the
video star.
Video star, or TV killed the video. Whatever, fuck it.
What is that?
Rhythm
beeping?
Destruction.
Midnight.
A rhythm and shoot 'em up game for the PC. So imagine your bullet hell shooter mixed with your rhythm game. So you're running around doing the bullet hell dodging with the thumbstick while you're tapping in rhythms to destroy enemies with the buttons. And it looks really nice, looks really polished. I can't master either of those type of games at high levels of complexity solo. I'm damn sure not interested in doing them together. But I know some of you freak motherfuckers out there are into that. And let me go ahead and just, for the video purposes, there was a good, like, moment in the video I watched somewhere of gameplay that was, like, really getting into the bullet hellish portion. Because, like, I think what I showed didn't really get into it crazy deep. And I'm scrubbing, but I'm not finding it.
Let it go.
Yeah, I'm about to let it go.
Yeah, it seems like one of those bullet hell meets Battletoads, and you'll never finish the game because
There we are.
somebody's going to die.
There's bullet hell dodging, and this thing sends out like waves of bullets and things like that, so you're dodging. It is synced to the beat, you know, so there's kind of like a pattern to help you dodge as well. But that's an interesting novel premise. Good to see that on Kickstarter. $400 funded of its $2,000 goal already, so, you know, that should make that. And that wraps up our Kickstarters for this week. And kind of also the podcast this week. I don't think we have any announcements. This weekend I'll probably try to get isometric maps done and try to get some documentation done and get a binary release. So right now, if you download Xtiled, you got to grab the source, because until I got to a point where I was happy with it, I wasn't going to put binary releases up there to download. But of course, you can grab the source and hit build and do it that way.
I'll probably try to dig into it because I haven't actually yet, and
I mean,
figure
yeah.
out what
So
next.
the portions that I'm going to change even in town wouldn't affect Captain Dubstep because
Yeah.
you'll just call the map.draw method and pass in 2 recs. That's all you have to pass in is a rect for the map region in world space to draw to this region in screen space. So
Okay.
I did actually work out and have working method of like, I don't want to draw to the full screen. I'm going to draw to over here and have it actually do all clipping and partial tile rendering before I realized I could just fucking set a viewport
And do the same
and
thing.
it'd do the exact same thing.
But the idea would be to create like a mini map or
Yes,
something.
that's exactly what it was for. It's for like mini map or
And it would shrink down.
or multiplayers. Yeah. And it
Okay.
didn't. Oh, it like so. Like tiles, like will be half on, half off, and when you're full screen, you don't care. But so I was handling all that, so it was drawing precisely what it should be drawing. So you could shrink it down and have no issues, and it tiles smooth and it worked perfect, except for flipping and rotating.
Right.
Because the flipping and rotating in X and A happens. Like I would have to figure out the pre-flipped and rotated source sprite to select, and to put that, and then have it flip and rotate afterwards. So that like got real complicated real fast. And then I was just like, hold on a shit. Let me try this out. They kind of set a viewport with a sprite batch like I could with 3D. Oh, I can. Oh, it does the clapping exactly like I was gonna do it. Fuck it. It will probably do it It'll probably do it faster than my code would do it, where I'm considering and calculating and crunching all these tiles. So I ripped all that out, and went with just the basic map rendering for the whole screen. So we'll have links to all that in the podcast. But yeah, definitely download, check it out, poke at it, and check out the properties, because that's going to be a little bit more code. I have not done name-based indexing, so that
like
may
where you
or
can
may
reference something
Yeah.
by name.
So everything is integer arrays. I mean, it's just arrays. So like your layers are just an array of layers.
Yeah, I think in most cases in Captain Dubstep, what I was doing was beforehand I was grabbing that index using link, and then I was just referencing it by index.
By
I
numerical
cannot remember
indexing.
though.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thought on like your approach would be on content load. You would want to get the name and index it by the numerical value and just map that to a constant in your code. So that really wouldn't be much value. I may go back and, as I'm adding fluff, do a C# override method and override if you pass a string instead of an int to the index array, that I basically do that link statement that you would have done yourself, just to make it approachable and easy.
Yeah, so you don't have to dig into the
You
internals.
have to dig into the code. Yeah. I do have places where, like, I was going back, and just depending on how I used it, I was going back and forth between structs and classes a lot of places internally. So I may change a few more of my structs over to classes. And that's just a design preference to not box structs when they need to be null. Because I thought, like, what's the worst case here? Making a class, an array of classes, and then, like, they can be null, so it's fine. Or make an array of structs, but they have to be nullable, and then box, because I don't want to make copies of empty structs in memory when I'm doing empty tiles. So I opted on that. I also, from conversations with Chris Gardner at DevLink, like, he came up and he was like, you keep saying this stuff about memory and structures, but like, I don't think in these cases that, they would necessarily, not be on the stack or something like that. So we had a struct versus class, heap versus stack debate, and I got back and he tweeted, no, I think I tweeted to him because I came across a Stack Overflow question when I was kind of looking up something about, like, just understanding how a nullable struct gets dealt with, and then found out, like, this whole stack heap thing is not working like you think it does at all. And there are very precise conditions of when a struct can go on the heap, and or when the struct goes on the heap, and when the struct can go on a stack. And there's all these cases that the slightest one is wrong, you go to the heap and you're not on the stack. And you thought you were on the stack, but nope, you are not.
Yeah. Well, the good thing with the map is everything. In theory, we're saving and loading should be like a one-time event. Like that's where you have your loading screen. You can call GC collect. You can kind of clean up after. You're not going to be loading these things in real time.
Now, one thing I did learn as I dove into this deeply, you can create as many structs function scoped as you want and not sweat that. So in the draw call, if you want to make a bunch of copies of some vectors and do calculations, and it's easier instead of doing it all on one line, to do it on a couple lines. You are going to be on the stack for a struct that has only struct properties, right? So struct of structs, or is a base type,
right?
And exists only in the scope of the function. Then you are perfect heap, or perfect stack. And so there's no garbage allocated. So, I mean, basically when we say stack, literally, there is a stack of memory, and you just keep piling things on it, and the next thing that needs a bit of memory, it's like, here's the pointer to where the stack's at, it goes there, it moves the stack pointer to the next free chunk of memory and puts it there. So, when it comes time to take the stack off, it just takes them all off in the order that they went on. So what you cannot do is have something that has to stay on over something underneath it, right?
Because that's not going to get taken off
it's a stack. It has to logically work that way. So if you do it in a function, that function goes out of scope, it goes back down. It's very fast to move that pointer. The stack is very efficient. That was something I tried to avoid. Like, I would make static ints, right? And things like that on my class, so that if I had like an I value, for example, I would just use that I value globally on the class, then have it local, and that was excessive.
And that takes place when the function goes out of scope, so it doesn't even affect the... Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, when the function goes out of scope, it was on the stack, so there's no garbage allocated.
Okay, so it just...
Garbage only allocates on the heap.
Yeah, I remember there was an article, and I cannot remember, it was like 2 paths to garbage collection nirvana or something, and one was you use structs, but you use them in a very particular way. I can't remember what
so you mean garbage on the heap, the 2 paths to nirvana are many objects that are shallow,
right,
or you have a few objects of depth.
Yeah.
You know,
so if you use classes
for a while.
so that they're either permanent or shallow, you're good.
Yeah. All right. That wraps up a show. We'll be back in a week. Thank you, everyone who tunes in, watches us live, everybody who watches us on YouTube, or old school downloads the audio podcast. Chris, great seeing you at DevLink, and I hope by now you have finished mowing the lawn. We are out. See you in a week.